Welcome to the Awakening Podcast. You can find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. My guest today, he was previously on the show, and I had a lovely interview with him on the Speaking Podcast. It was episode number 265. So we went deep into his whole story and just more personal. So you should check that out. His name is Daniel Packard. I met him, I don't know, is it 8 years or 6 years ago at Ibiza? We done a give back there. We were helping cleaning up the beach and stuff like that. And he personally helped me with a relationship. I had a bad kind of, I suppose, a sequencing of what I was doing. And I went, this guy knows what he's doing. And we just stayed in contact and we've got into business together. And he's helping people with anxiety. He's got a 90% success rate. He only charges you if he helps you. And I know, not just from him, but from the people on his team, he's helped a load of people. You'll find him at danielpackard.com, but I prefer, welcome to the show, Daniel.
Thank you so much for having me, Roy. Always a pleasure to hang out with you and hear your lovely Irish accent. It just makes everything okay. I think if I was going to be a hitman, I would use an Irish accent. I'd be like, "It's time for you to go, my friend," and just kind of lighten the mood. I don't know. Yeah. And thank you. It's great to be here with your audience, and I appreciate that there are people that want to be awakened and see what's true, which can be confronting. It takes more energy to see, to see new paradigms. And so I just appreciate your audience, and I'm going to share with them a perspective on fear and anxiety. It's not only going to really be valuable for them for fear and anxiety. Well, I just thought of something, when you have a lot of fear and anxiety, it's exhausting. Because you're tired all the time. We're not supposed to be afraid all the time. We're supposed to be afraid for 5 seconds when the tiger comes out, and then you run and then you relax. But when you have a lot of fear and anxiety, it's exhausting and you're sleepy. So by helping your audience have less fear and anxiety, they'll have more energy and they'll be more awakenings. So I want to awaken your audience to some issues, some blind spots that we have about the mental health community. So awaken their consciousness, but also awaken their bodies by helping them be calmer and have more energy. How does that sound?
Excellent. Perfect. And I know myself because of friends that have worked in the medical industry and just a lot of stuff I've done myself. It ain't straightforward. And even because, as you probably know, I'm a mummy's boy. I talk to my mom every day and she's telling me about the local radio station, and they're all about the hospitals, all the people complaining about all the bad things that they're doing. They don't allow people in there, people on trolleys. They're making them sick in there. And the fear is people know when they have something wrong, they're even afraid to go to the medical industry. So I suppose before we delve into all that and all the bad, people need to know your own journey to kind of how you got into this.
You said, something really important that's on my heart and my mind and is really my mission in this world. You said that people who have struggles, what did you say? Like it's hard, or what did you say? Like they're not, forget what you say, but one of the issues is when people struggle with whether it's fear, anxiety, panic attacks, trauma, really anything to do with fear that makes your life challenging is, yes, it sucks having these things, but then when you go looking for help, it's so confusing. It is, well, there are two things. Most of what's out there is just Band-Aids. It's not effective. It doesn't solve anything. It's Band-Aids, but also it leaves people so confused. And what we've developed is a program that's not only 90% effective, but part of the effectiveness, a huge part of the effectiveness, is the simplicity. So effective and simple, which is not what's typically out there. What's out there is Band-Aids, and it's super confusing. One person says this, one person says that. You try this, you don't know what to do. And I talk to people all the time who come to us for help, and you can just hear they are so confused. Am I an anxious person? Do I have anxiety? Is it hormones? Is it society? Is it my dad? Is it this? What is it? Isn't a little bit of anxiety normal? Like, people are so confused, and they're confused not before they go to the experts, after the experts. The experts are confusing people. That is not a good sign. And so the other day, someone asked me, if you can make something simple, you must really understand it. And I said, well, we do, but it was not easy. It was 8 years. It was 8 years of my life it's all I did. I lived on 5 continents, worked with 3,000 people. I worked with addicts in South Africa. I worked with monks in India, but it was my whole life to make something simple. And this person said, that's really impressive. And I thought, it is impressive. And what motivated me to do that? Where did that come from? And I started thinking about, where this motivation to drop everything and try to make something complicated simple. And I remember 2 stories from growing up. The first was my mom told me the story of Florence Nightingale that I bring up. Florence Nightingale, was this British nurse in the 1850s, and she saw more soldiers were dying in recovery than in battle. And she goes to the quote unquote experts, the doctors and the generals, and she's like, hey, maybe this is not such a good thing. And they, being the experts, stuck in their ways, just said, don't worry about it. This is part of war. Like, get back to work. But she really cared. And she saw a pain. And she was the one that first figured out that hygiene was very important, that you have to change the bandages, don't put the soldiers over by the toilets, open the windows. And that was her. She's the one that proved that. And the death rate in recovery dropped by 99%. That's not the cool part. The cool part is it dropped 99% with something simple that the experts missed. And that taught me that the experts can be so experty and so smart that they miss the simple, most effective things. So that was the first memory from my childhood. The other one was that my dad, he was your typical, I didn't get the I love yous and I'm proud of yous and the attaboys. I don't know. I'm probably just the only kid in the world with a dad like that, just me. So everyone else thought I was great, but I couldn't get any I love yous and I'm proud of yous. And so, you start looking for your dad's approval. And because it wasn't there. And I remember there were really only 2 times in my life where he really said something to me that let me know he saw that I was, something impressive. We were on his boat. By the way, this is an example of just, my dad not only doesn't praise me, he goes out of his way to not praise me. So here's an example. When I was a comedian, he never said he was proud of me for being a comedian, which is not an easy job. So one time when I was a comedian, I got booked to do a gig in Dubai. And this was when Dubai was exotic. So comedy in Dubai, it just sounds cool. And I thought, I'm going to just tell my dad, hey, Dad, I just got hired to do comedy in Dubai. And I thought, it's just such an easy thing to say, oh, Dubai, that's interesting. It's like Kilimanjaro, Kathmandu. It just sounds cool. It's easy to say, wow. So I thought, okay, Dad, I'm going to tell my dad, I'm going to do comedy in Dubai. All he has to say is, oh, cool. And I'll know, So I walk up to him and I say, hey, I just got hired to do comedy in Dubai. And he looks at me and he says, don't tell him you're a Jew. And I was like, can you just say good job? Like, it's not that hard. And this was another one. This is a true story. This is a true story, man. Again, I would try to give him softball pitches where it would be easy for him to say something nice. So I was about 32 and I had this girlfriend and she was really sweet and really wonderful. And it was after a string of girlfriends that had been really unkind to me. So I had my first really sweet, loving, devoted, nurturing girlfriend. So I thought, and my dad asked me, he almost never asked about my love life. And he said, oh, I heard you got a new girlfriend. And I said, yeah. Now, part of me was like, don't tell him because he's going to shoot you down. But I was like, no, he's asking, how can he possibly mess this up? So I said, yeah, I got a new girlfriend. And I said, you know what, Dad? She's great. She's sweet. She's loving. She's nurturing. And it just feels really good to have a quality love from a good woman. And all he has to say is I'm happy for you. Good job. Yay. He looks at me and I'm not making this up. He looks at me and he says, make sure she can swim. And I was so confused of what does that even mean?
That makes two of us.
It was at least the Dubai comment and it made some, it's not like he said, oh, she sounds wonderful. I hope she doesn't drown. Make sure she can swim. Just make sure she can swim. I don't know what. So here's my theory. My theory is there are these puzzles in the back of newspapers in the US where you get a bunch of individual words and then you take those words and they it solves a riddle. So my theory is that I'm going to, put the clues of like Dubai, swim, and I'm going to put it into like a little decipher code. And it's going to say, sorry, I couldn't tell you I loved you. I don't know. I think it's his way. I don't know what it means. The point is my dad, not great at the good jobs. So anyway, going back to I'm 13, and we're on his boat, and the heating system on his boat wasn't working. Now, my dad's a physicist, and he's very handy, and he can fix anything. He couldn't fix his heating system, and he was frustrated. And I said, well, maybe I can try. And just to humor me, he said, sure, go for it. Okay, so I go into the bottom of the boat. I'm down there climbing around, and I said, I think I can fix it. And he says, Daniel, you can't fix it. I said, I think I can fix it. He said, how are you going to fix it? And I said, hand me a zip tie. Those little things he said, how are you going to fix it with all those zip ties? I said, not all those zip ties, one zip tie. He said, you are not going to solve the system with a zip tie. I said, I think I could. So he hands me one zip tie. I do a little thing. I connect two pipes that, were not connected. And I walk upstairs and I said, turn the heating on. And he turned it on and it started working. And he was just flabbergasted. I was and he just looked at me and he said, that's impressive. That was the one time where I remember my dad saying, good job. But what it showed me was two things, because it stuck with me, because it was so impressionable. It was like one of the few times in my life where my dad said, good job, was my dad was an expert, man. If anybody in the world could have fixed the heating system on its boat, it was my dad. But he knew so much, he missed the simple thing that was right there. That's what that showed me. Just like for Florence Nightingale, sometimes the experts miss the simple thing. And it also taught me that I might have a talent for seeing simple solutions to things that the experts miss. And so when I went to engineering school, there were people that were way more experty than I was, people that understood the theory and the math. They got way better grades. I got my ass kicked in engineering school. But man, when the kids with the high grades would get stumped and confused, they would bring the problems to me. And I was like little Forrest Gump. And I was like, did you drop lip in the derivative? And they're like, thanks, Forrest. And I learned I had this ability or talent or awareness that sometimes the smartest people who know the most sometimes miss the little simple thing that works the best. And so that's how it leads to the work we're doing now. I was in this abusive relationship, not with the wonderful woman who I'm sure she can swim. This was 10 years later. And the relationship turned very toxic and unhealthy. And I was being emotionally abused, but was too codependent and insecure to leave. And right after the relationship was over, 2 weeks after, I came down with just crippling anxiety and complex PTSD. The tiniest thing, somebody could interrupt me and my whole body would be filled with terror. And it was horrible. And, like your audience that struggles with these things, I went looking for help. I went to therapy. I went to the experts, the people with the degrees, that know everything. The therapists, psychologists, doctors, gurus, teachers. I went to retreats. I did everything, Roy. And not only did it not solve anything, not only did I spend $100,000 US and nothing fixed it, it was just Band-Aids, I was left more confused. I was worse off. And at one point, I was really desperate. I was really, truly, I was just rock bottom. And I just was like, what I'm missing? I must be like missing something. How can all these experts take all this money and I'm worse off and I'm more confused? And I said, what's the point? What's the point? I asked God, like, what? And I just kind of had this awareness of like, wait a minute. Maybe the experts know too much. Maybe they're so experty, they're missing that simple thing, the zip tie, or the thing that Florence Nightingale saw. Maybe there's a simple solution that the experts missed. And maybe I could figure it out. I don't know. So I started my own research company to see maybe there's an actual permanent solution to anxiety, but also that it could be simple. And we did. I was one of the first test cases to get the results. My anxiety and PTSD went away 10 years ago. I've been chill as a cucumber ever since, just calm, content, happy, fulfilled. But because what we discovered was effective and simple, now we're able to help so many more people. And it was not easy to make it simple. And the gift is the simplicity for all those people out there that are feeling confused. But that's how we got to simple, was my dad and my mom showed me, the power of seeing that sometimes the experts miss the most effective thing, and sometimes it's simple, and it is simple.
Excellent. And I mean, just on previous shows, because when we done one together, there was even therapists that wrote comments and gave me a review that actually realized that what you were saying was right. And I take my hat off to them, because there's only a tiny percentage of people will actually admit maybe this is wrong. And if we look at the industry, because I know I've talked about this on my show a lot, about the kind of corruption and like they pushed out natural remedies about 100 years ago. So when people come in now, they get the stethoscope, they get the bag, and they're told, hey, you do prescriptions, you do this, you do that. And there's very few that kind of go down the natural route. And then it gets even deeper. It's like they're getting a kickback. But what I find strange is they are victim of their own crookery, because most of the doctors or consultants that I know, they're taking all the pills as well themselves. And if you look at a lot of, say, like the anxiety distress pills, if you look at the side effects, suicidal tendencies and everything, and that's scary. And most of them, they don't even go deep. They don't even ask the person, hey, did you go walking? Did you look? They don't even check things that can help them naturally. And that's scary. And the thing is, before, people honored the person with the white coat. I think over the last 3 or 4 years, lots of people have realized, hey, we've been duped with this. And I know you're fighting an uphill battle because you're innovative, but because I'm working with you and I've seen even professional athletes, like testimonials, like an interview that was 30 minutes, like incredible, and how much his performance and everything. So when people realize this, it's kind of like you're talking about the Florence, like it's just you've nothing to lose. Just don't think this is the way it is. Just be open. That's all you have to do in life. Be open to something different.
Well, yeah. I mean, absolutely. And that's why your audience is open, because they know that, the experts can sometimes not be so expert, and they're taught to take a closer look. But, that's great. And you do need to be open. But, one of what pains my heart is, and this is one of the things I want to awaken people to. So we're starting to wake up and understand that, yeah, experts who give pills, probably not so great. You're just handing a pill. A, it's not solving anything. B, there's horrible side effects. When I had my anxiety, my therapist gave me the pills. And I asked her straight up, I said, is this addictive? She said, no. And I went, all right, I get on them. Then when I tried to get off them, holy Jesus, it was horrible. It was, warning, Will Robinson, warning. Here's why those pills are so horrible. When they go in, when they work, they're actually modifying your brain structure. What they're doing is they're acting as a crutch. There's part of your brain that should be functioning, and the chemical goes in and acts to kind of help it out. The problem is the part of the brain that naturally does it starts to shrivel up and atrophy because the pill is doing the job. So when I tried to get off the pills, the part of the brain that naturally does it had atrophied. So if you take the drug out, that part of your brain is basically missing, and the side effects were worse than the actual anxiety, but it's the duration. If you do heroin, not that I do heroin, but if you do heroin or cocaine and you get off it, once it's out of your system, that's the end of the withdrawal. But with these benzos, it can take years for your brain to grow back. And so I had to lower my dosage 1% a week. 1% a week. Anything more than that, it would send me into terror. So 1% a week. And it took me basically 2 years to slowly taper off it and for the brain to grow back and be healthy again. So I didn't mean to get off on this topic, but man, those pills are nasty. But my issue with the therapists and the psychologists in the mental health industry, it's not the pills. People already get the pills. It's not a great thing. Even the natural things, talk therapy, tips and tools, breathing exercises, understanding your anxiety. My issue with this industry is they have an incomplete understanding of what anxiety is and how to solve it. That's not the problem. The problem is two things. One is they're leaving people very, very, very confused, and they're getting crappy results. And that's not the problem. The problem is we don't see it as a problem. We give the mental health industry a total pass. If you looked at the results that the mental health industry gets and how much money they charge, and you looked at any other industry, you'd have a problem with it. But we're so used to getting this subpar behavior that we just tolerate it. $1 trillion, okay? $1 trillion a year gets spent on mental health globally. And anxiety is on the rise. Okay, do you know how crappy you have to be at your job to collect $1 trillion and people are still, and it's on the rise, and we tolerate it. We're like, oh, okay, well, it must be. No, I'm waking people up that these people are not getting permanent results. And my issue is not with the results, it's that they don't care more. They're apathetic because it's a good business model. If they just hand out Band-Aids, you come back every week, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. I remember at the end of a conference, I gave a talk to a bunch of therapists, and one of the therapists walked up and she basically said, what are your credentials? Meaning like, where were you trained? Are you certified? And I said, no. And she kind of gave me this sneery look like, what are you doing in our industry? Now, I kind of get what she's saying because credentials do matter. And I didn't say this to her. I was like, I may not have the credentials, but you know what I have, lady? I got the freaking results. Okay, so you got the letters. Yay. If a person's in pain, having panic attacks, and you walk up and you're like, hey, I got a piece of paper on the wall. You think they give a flying fudge? They want to be free of this. Okay, do you want to know why our clients come to us, even though I don't have a certificate? Because we get permanent results, and we only charge at the end when you get results. So I didn't say this to her, but to those of you out there in pain, what matters more, credentials or results? When you're in pain, results matter. So my issue again is not what they're doing. It's that their industry is just, man, I get very passionate about this. And here's why. Because again, they're confusing people. They're confusing people when people go to the experts. And not only do they not get the help they need and they feel worse, now they're confused. And then they start to blame themselves. I feel trapped. I feel broken. I feel like this is my fault. And that's what pisses me off, that the experts are leaving, in some ways, people worse off. And then this is where it gets messed up. I know I'm on a roll here. I just got to keep going because this is my life, this is helping people. This is why we don't charge until the end. 3 years ago, this gentleman reached out to me. He had met somebody at a party who had anxiety and panic attacks and had tried everything and nothing worked. That person told this person, about the work we're doing. So this gentleman, Kyle, reached out to us and he said, oh my God, I have crippling anxiety and panic attacks. I don't have a life. My business sucks. I have no energy. I'm on the verge of divorce. My wife loves me, but I'm unhappy and miserable. Can you help me? And I said, yes, it's what we do. And he said, great. And I could see that he wanted to do it, but then when it got time to do it, he froze up. And he said, well, I'm busy right now. And when I peeled back the layers, I realized, and he said, you know what? I don't think this is even possible. I don't think you can do this. I said, why do you think we can do this? He said, man, because all the experts failed. Why would you succeed? He said, also, I think this won't work for me. I think I might just be broken. And it just broke my heart because I remember that feeling. You feel broken when nothing works. And there's nothing I could do. He had hundreds of experiences where he felt hopeless and broken. And he was also, I don't think he was going to end his life, but he said he thought of it because he felt so guilty for being a horrible father. He thought maybe I shouldn't just be around. So just to help him, I said, hey, don't pay now. You pay at the end. Pay at the end when you're happy. And he said, what do you mean? I said, just do the program, do it, feel better, be a better husband and father. And when it works, that's when you pay us. And he said, so I can just try it? I said, just try it. And he said, I got nothing to lose. I said, you got nothing to lose. So he did it. We got to help him. And about the third week of the program, he just said, thank you so much. Now, his anxiety wasn't fully gone in 3 weeks because we track it. So I was wondering why he was so grateful. He was down by about 50%, which is still incredible. And I said, oh, you're welcome. Why? He said, thank you for letting me just try this. Because if you hadn't have let me just try it, I wouldn't have done it. And I don't know if I'd be here. And in that moment, I realized people are so broken and confused and feeling like this isn't possible that then we can't help more people. And that was the kind of the time that we developed our no change, no charge policy. By not charging people on the front end, we allow skeptical people who feel broken and trapped to try something that can give them their life back so they can be free.
And I mean, I think it's worth mentioning as well, is because everyone's got different financial situations, but you actually went away and you help people to do kind of payments when it does work, that you're, you've structured that as well, which must, like, if you go to a therapist, I don't think therapists do that. They just kind of go in, they get people to repeat their pain and then go away as if they're going to be happy with that. Like, I mean, I know of people that have 20 years going to a therapist and they say, my therapist is great. And I just shake my head. I go, they're a great business person. They're a terrible therapist, because if they were, I mean, most people, they're going for years and they're just like, oh, but I have to, but I'm getting better. And it's like, how can you be going to somebody for years? And I mean, these people aren't charging $10. Some of them are hundreds of bucks. And they're just kind of going, you come in and talk, and I'm listening, and I'm feeling connected to you, and I'm being nice, and I'm, oh, poor you, and then they feel good, they go away. They don't go away better. They go away and they're back, and they just next week, oh, I'll go to my, and it's a terrible industry. That I'm not saying that they're all like that. There is some that actually fast, they can kind of help people, but it's a tiny percentage. And I don't believe there's any that actually do a no charge kind of if they don't help you. It's like, yeah, if you see me, you pay. If you don't have money, and I'm not going to organize somebody that can help you on a stage payments, they just say good luck.
Nobody in this industry charges at the end. You want to know why? They can't. You can't run a business based on results when you don't get permanent results. That's why they don't do it. So many other industries, you pay for results. You take your car to a mechanic, okay? You hire a landscaper, a painter. So many other industries, you pay for a result because they get results. A painter knows he can paint a house, so he can back up his results. These people, not only do they not charge only for results, this is the other big clue that this industry, I don't think it's corrupt. These people are doing the best they can. It's up to us, the consumer. I'm trying to awaken people to go, wait a minute, this is really wonky. They don't measure results. When you come through our program, there's an intake form, and we measure your whole life in various key numerical metrics. So we have a baseline measurement when you come in. Then we're measuring you daily tracking your data and results so that we know for sure that you got results. No, I spent $100,000 to spiritual teachers, psychologists. Nobody ever measured a goddamn thing. Even when you go to a doctor, they measure, they take your vital signs. At least they measure something. You take your car to a mechanic, they measure things. That's what people who know what they're doing and get results, they measure. And these people don't even measure. That's not the problem. The problem is we don't see it as a problem. That's what I'm trying to wake people up to, is to go, wait a minute, these are experts? This is not Gary at the bar. Fine, Gary at the bar who's giving you a theory that you have anxiety because the aliens are out there. Gary's not an expert. He doesn't have to back it up. But these are the experts, and we let them get away. This is frightening. Okay, this is frightening. I was talking to a therapist about this, and I was saying, look, I'm sure a lot of you are well-intentioned, but let's be honest. For the most part, this industry is not focused on solving these things and getting results of permanent solutions for fear and anxiety. And she said, no, that's true. You're right. You're right. And then she said, actually, when I was going through my therapeutic training, one of her teachers said, when you become a therapist with the education we're giving you, you're going to help 1/3 of the people that come to you. 1/3 won't change at all. And 1/3 will leave worse. Now, what horrified me was not the numbers. Look, if that's the best you can do and that's how you help people, fine. Look, we figured out how to solve anxiety. It was a lot of work, man. It was 8 years. I'm trained as an engineer to problem solve. This is my whole life. I don't expect everyone to do what I did. So if all you can do is 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, okay, fine. At least you're trying to help. Okay, at least you're not a serial killer. So my issue isn't the results. My issue is the fact that nobody had an issue with the results. Okay, my issue is that like the teacher was just like, yeah, it's the results we get, and we're the experts. It's not like he said like, oh, this is a serious problem we need to address. And then my issue is that all the students didn't just walk out. Man, I went to engineering school. If I was sitting in a class and and we were doing static engineering, which is like how you learn to build bridges. If my teacher had said, so we're going to give you some theory on how to build a bridge. 1/3 of these bridges will work. 1/3 will be so expensive they'll never be built. And 1/3 will collapse, killing thousands. I would probably have a problem with that. I would stand up and I would go, can we get some better information? You know, it's not the results they get. They don't care. They're apathetic to these results and then charging for these results and not having a problem with it every now and then with our program, every now and then, because we're still tweaking and optimizing it. We don't help somebody in 6 weeks. We help them long-term, but 6 weeks isn't a long period of time, but that's our program. Every now and then, this happened a year ago. We helped a gentleman. His anxiety was down by about 40%, but not as low as we'd like. I reached out to him because that mattered to me. We didn't deliver and he was still in pain. And I reached out to him and I said, John, I'm sorry. You know, we did the best we could. And we didn't help you more. And I'm sorry. I see you're still in pain and that matters to me. We're not going to charge you. And also, this isn't your fault. We were the experts. You trusted us and we let you down. This isn't your fault. This is up to us. It mattered to me, Roy. It mattered to me. And then for the next 6 months, we went over him and the data and the program to figure out why. We're passionate to figure out why this happened. So again, it's not the results that the therapists and psychologists are getting. It's the poor results and that it doesn't seem to bother them. That's my issue. And that they charge for the poor results. That's my issue. And just to be clear, they're not changing. They got a sweet little business, man. They got a sweet little business where people are just been conditioned to tolerate this and pay money. So they got a sweet thing going. They got a cash cow. They got a planet of people freaking the F out and they're selling Band-Aids. That is a sweet business model, man. It's up to the consumers to wake up and demand more. That's what I'm not here to condemn the therapists. I'm here to awaken your audience.
Excellent. I think you're aware about my back that I was talking about. I probably on the show I mentioned as well. So I tried everything with that, and trusting the doctors and everything, and the epidural operation, and then I wasn't done. And I know now it was actually anxiety because I was running a multi-million-pound job at 24 or something like that. I was getting up at 8 in the morning, start working from 8 till 12 at night every day. You shouldn't do that. That's not normal. And in the end, I kind of resolved it. Unfortunately, I didn't have you or your system to help me, because it would have been not only a lot of money less, but a lot faster as well. But what I'm seeing now with the doctors and everything, and the reason I say it is because I remember when even people would say it to me, oh, how's your back? How's your back? And I would say, stop saying it to me, because it's like a trigger and it makes me remember about my back. And I think that's similar with when they're going to the therapist and everything. It's like, it's just a trigger, a trigger, a trigger. And now when they go to a doctor, there's so many like, oh, you've got ADHD, you've got this, you've got that, you've got this. And they're throwing out all these different labels. And then, of course, they've got the pill, the magic pill. Like, there's children that they're not out playing football. They're not doing anything. They're just stuck in front of their computer. And the whole industry is completely sick. But when you actually look at that, the reality is it can all be resolved.
Well, yeah, it can. It would. I mean, that was the mission of the company, was to disrupt this industry. My own pain. that's how we do. We feel pain and then we wake up. But the fact that it even had to happen is what makes me sad. And I also spent $100,000 in 10 years. And this didn't even occur to me, man. I spent thousands on spiritual teachers, left more or less the same, and went, oh, that was great. They had really good vegetarian food. Like, that was the problem. Man, if I took my car to a car mechanic and it came back more or less the same, but he handed me some tabbouleh, I wouldn't be like, what an awesome mechanic. It's the blind spot that we're tolerating this and not holding them accountable. And you pointed out something incredibly important. Again, another blind spot. We're giving the experts way more credit based on their poor results. For instance, this was a week ago, a woman reached out to me for help with her son. And she said, I just took my son is dealing with anxiety, but I just took him to the therapist, and now he's been diagnosed with OCD and ADHD. And first of all, she said, can you help with that? And I said, trust me, I'll explain to you why we can help with all three. But here's the thing. She felt she was like, oh, thank God, now I know what my son has. Now I know. Like, this is a good thing. Telling someone you have ADHD or OCD or anxiety, that's just a description of the symptoms. It's not helpful. It's just kind of saying, oh, we're going to put a name on this thing. It's not that valuable. If you walk into if you walk into the ER and a doctor walks up and says, yes, you have advanced bleeding. Okay, thanks. Thank you. That's not the same as not bleeding. So these people go to these experts and the experts see the symptoms like, oh, I know what that is. That's this thing. It's like, oh, thank you. But that's not valuable if you're drowning and someone says, oh man, you have advanced drowning disorder. That's not helpful. It's just a diagnosis, but you don't know why I'm drowning. Why am I bleeding? It's not helpful. But we've been conditioned to pay these people to basically tell us we're bleeding and drowning. Now, this is where it gets trippy. A year ago, a gentleman came to us and he had anxiety and panic attacks. And he said to me, Daniel, I also have OCD and ADHD. Now, I know how we solve anxiety. The way that we solve anxiety and panic attacks is that we saw that the mechanical root cause of anxiety and panic attacks and almost all fear is that humans feel unsafe from within themselves. If you feel unsafe from within your own body, it's going to create problems. You're going to feel anxious. You'll have panic attacks. So people don't have anxiety. They don't have panic attacks. They feel a feeling of unsafety from within. And then if you feel unsafe from within, you'll feel fear. And then if you feel fear, you're going to name that fear and you might call it anxiety or panic attacks. Does that make sense? Yes. Also, if you have constantly spinning, anxious mind, if you think about it, you're probably feeling unsafe within yourself. And then your mind is like spinning, trying to figure things out to like help you calm down. So we saw that what these people are being diagnosed with, it's not even, you don't have anxiety. It's a word you're calling a symptom. The issue is you feel unsafe. But if you feel unsafe, that's going to show up in a lot of other ways, because if we feel unsafe, that's going to mess with any human being. We want to feel safe. So when this gentleman came to me and he said, I have OCD and ADHD, right away, I didn't say this to him, but I thought, I bet the OCD and ADHD will either completely go away or significantly down, because I think it's the same root cause. Now, I didn't say anything to him, partly because people already think what we do is too good to be true. And if I was to say, oh, we'll solve all three in 6 weeks, he probably would have freaked out and been like, oh, this is... So I didn't say anything. So anyway, I told him, no, your ADHD will not get in the way of this program. So he goes through, his name was John. He was from Oregon. He was a truck driver. This is how bad he wanted to work with it. He sold one of his trucks to work with us. It felt good. He got his truck back. Anyway, he goes through the program, and around week 5, we were talking. Now, I knew from the data that his anxiety, his panic attacks were just gone. That was incredible. And his anxiety was down by about 80%. And I said, hey, how's your ADHD and OCD? And he said, funny you should mention that. I was like, oh, really? Go on. And he said, last week I was walking around the farm and the stuff I obsessed over, I just wasn't. And like, my focus is better. And like, do you think that's a coincidence? And I was like, what? And I explained to him, and I said, dude, think about it. If you feel unsafe from within, it's hard to focus. You can't focus when you're nervous. Anyone who's given a public talk knows that when we get scared, we lose our cognitive ability. We're not as sharp. And I said, what if you didn't have attention deficit disorder? What if you felt unsafe from within and nervous, and it affects your focus? And he went, oh my God, you're right. And I said, and if you feel unsafe from within, it's a very scary feeling. And there's a thing that humans do when we feel afraid, which is we like control. We like to control things. And I said, what if your OCD, the obsession, was like a coping mechanism to deal with the feeling of unsafe inside? His whole thing was, flipping the lights on and off. And I said, if you feel out of control from within, having a little bit of control on the outside would be calming. And he said, oh my. So not only did his anxiety go away, his panic attacks went away, his OCD went away, and ADHD. But the thing is, the experts don't see it that way. They're convincing people not that there's one issue that's solvable. They come in and they convince you there's two problems, three. They told this kid he has ADHD. Here's your pills. You have OCD. Here's the pills. You have anxiety. Here's the pills. You have panic attacks. Here's the pills. So the therapists take one thing that's solvable, turn it into four things that are not solvable, and then get charged for Band-Aids on four things. Do you see why they're making way more money and how unethical this is?
Unreal. And you mentioned about what the tablets do to you. I've actually had somebody on the show that was talking about ADD, ADHD, and was on the tablets for a long time, and how it has seriously messed with them and how hard it was to come off them. And like, people aren't even thinking that. They think, oh, you're helping my child here at the pill. Like, you have to stop giving your power over to these people, because unfortunately there's a high percentage. There is some definitely ethical, nice people that will be watching what's going on. They learn from one patient and help the other. But unfortunately, I'd say 95% of people aren't. And it's all about, oh, repeat customer, I'm getting my kickback for these tablets. Oh, another diagnosis. Excellent. And it's sad to see.
It is sad. And yes, again, handing out pills is a cop-out. If you're handing out pills, don't call yourself an expert. You don't know how to solve it and you're handing out a pill. Now, if you're going to hand out a pill, fine. That's how you help people. Just call yourself a drug dealer, and then at least you're in integrity with what you're doing. But don't if you can't fix something and the only thing you can do is hand a person a pill, don't go around telling people you're an expert. But what I'm trying to awaken people is not even the medication, just the approach of this industry. The best intentioned therapists, and they have good intentions, they have an incomplete understanding of what's going on. And that incomplete understanding is it's negligent and dangerous because it's confusing people and making it worse. That's what I want to awaken people to, not just the medication. Yes, that's a horrible problem, and some maybe get kickbacks. But even just well-intentioned talk therapists, they're not giving out pills. They're trying to do it organically, but they have an incomplete understanding. And it's giving themselves expert status when don't really know what you're. Here's another example of how this industry is not humble. Okay. And this comes back to the fact that my dad's a scientist, and he told me something when I was a kid. He said, Daniel, anybody can have a theory or an idea. It's the person who gets results. Results matter. You got to get results. And if you don't get results, you probably don't know as much as you think. Does that make sense? Sure. Yes. Okay. So think about this. Let's look at modern psychology, okay? Just look at the red flags that everybody misses. Basically, one of the fathers of modern psychology is Freud, okay? So he's kind of like one of the original guys that starts saying, hey, let's analyze things and let's look at dreams and let's see if you love your mom still, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so he's on the Mount Rushmore of modern psychology. Okay, so if you are the sort of one of the fathers or mothers of an industry, would it make sense that person must have had a breakthrough in results, and they're honoring you with your incredible results by making you the father or mother of an industry? Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah.
Freud was a chain-smoking cocaine addict. Think about that. You've got an industry that's dealing with addiction. Most addiction is covering up emotional stuff. Smoking is addiction, covering up emotions. Cocaine is covering up emotions. The father of your industry was an addict on 2 levels, and you're like, oh, he's the father of our industry. If you don't see that as the father of modern physics is Newton. Newton's basic equations describes most of motion on this planet, and you can take Newton's equations and use it to put a man on the moon. Great results. Thus, he is the father of modern physics. But the fact that Freud, who just had these symptoms, and he's the... Do you see the craziness of this? Do you see this?
I remember seeing something. I think it was the Rockefellers, one of the sisters or one of the daughters was working with him for years as a patient. And it's like, because we know how they control the whole medical industry, like, oh, this guy becomes the best thing since sliced bread. You just look at what they've done to society, and that should tell you enough.
Yep. If we held the mental health industry to the same standards of other industries, we would laugh them out of we wouldn't go to them. But the thing is, this is why it's sad, and this is why I had to start my company. Yes, there are well-intentioned people. Yes, there are people that maybe don't have out pills, but what they do, Roy, is very ineffective. When I say ineffective, I mean it's not getting to the root cause in a way that's simple. That's what I mean is ineffective. Because of that, people spend years with this, managing symptoms, Band-Aids, and leaving them more and more and more confused. That's not the problem. The problem is that we don't sort of wake up and realize, oh, maybe these people are actually setting me backwards. That's what I'm trying to wake people up to. And that the industry itself doesn't take a good hard look in the mirror and go, man, we really need to step up our game because we're not getting the job done. That's my industry. Like, even just the fact that it's called mental health. Okay. They go around, we're mental health experts. Mental health, mental health, mental health. Okay. First of all, mental health is worse than ever. And when we started our company, because we're scientists and researchers, we re-examined everything. We said, they're not getting the job done. Let's re-examine, is mental health even mental? I don't know. Is it? And the answer is no. After we did research and testing, we saw that anxiety is not coming from the mind. It's coming from the body. That's how we're able to solve anxiety, is we're actually in the correct location. It's in the body. And people know this because, have you ever noticed that when you feel more fearful and anxious, your mind tends to spin and notice more negative things? But when your body is more calm, your mind tends to notice more good things. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
That's because we are wired where your body feels something first, and then your mind carries out what the body wants. You feel hunger in the body first, and then the mind tries to get you food. So what's going on is people don't say, I think anxious, I feel anxious. Where do you feel it? Throat, chest, heart, stomach. Does that sound like the mind to you or the body?
Obviously the body. And I mean, like,
it's
with
the
intuition as well as from the body.
Yes. And people go, oh, it's true. I feel it. Of course it's true, because it's dead simple. It's in the body. This is not a theory. Our program gets a 90% success rate. I've been chill as a cucumber for 10 years. The reason we can back up our results like this is because we're in the right location. It's the body. That's not my point. My point is the experts are called mental health experts when the problem is in the freaking body. Mental health isn't mental. It's in the body. So that's problem number one. Even their moniker of like, ooh, mental health, mental health. No, you guys, it's not mental. It's in the body. Also, health. Look at that word, health. Mental health. I'm a mental health expert. Mental health expert. No, these people are unhealthy. You are helping giving them Band-Aids for poor health. That's not the same as health. Okay, if you walk into an operating room and you're bleeding, and like someone just helps you slow down the bleeding, nobody says, "Oh, I'm a bleeding health expert." No, you're not. You're a Band-Aid expert. That's fine, but don't call yourself an expert if the thing is still here. If you were let's say a physical trainer, and all your clients were 200 pounds overweight and couldn't get off the couch, you wouldn't be like, "I'm a physical health expert." No, you're not. No, you're not. So the fact that they're calling themselves mental health expert when these people aren't healthy, they're giving themselves way too much credit. What they should call it. Now, in physical medicine, you have a part of medicine called pain management. At least that's honest. It's saying, we can't get rid of your pain. We can help you manage it. Fine, at least you're in integrity. But mental health experts aren't experts in mental health. If they were, a third of US teens wouldn't be killing themselves. Sorry to be so blunt. But do you see my point? This isn't mental health. This is poor mental health Band-Aid management. And I wish they would just call themselves Band-Aid distributors. At least then you're honest. But they're not. They're not honest and they're not humble. And they do not, we just be cautious of trusting them based on their results. They are not mental health experts. They are poor body health Band-Aid distributors. There's still value in that, but it ain't the help. I can say that we are, well, we're not mental health, we're body health. How do I know that? Because we have a process that by the end of 6 weeks, your body, the part of your body that makes you so scared, which is your nervous system, is healthy. That's what we're doing. Body, emotional health experts. Do you want to know why I call myself an expert? Because we have a 90% success rate in 6 weeks. And if we can't help you, we don't charge you. Because we're experts, because we're getting incredible results. And our measurement of success is that in 6 weeks, you feel safe and solid from within. Your anxiety, your fear, and your panic attack is gone and never comes back. Why? Because that is what health looks like. So I am just going to own my greatness and say we are experts because we're solving it. If you can't solve it, you're not an expert. Mic drop.
And, you know, if we look at the Minister for Health in a lot of countries, they are the most obese, unhealthy. Even in America, I think your Minister for Health, or it's, you know, a dude in a dress. And it's like, if we look at the industry, because if you look at everything as a whole, people go like the education system and everything, it's working. They're doing it exactly the way they want it. They don't want people living in harmony. They don't want people, they want this like that. They want the tension, they want the divorce, they want all the fighting. It's done intentionally. And if you're suffering because of what Daniel is doing, because I personally have seen a load of people that have been helped by this. And one thing which he doesn't tell people about, and he doesn't advertise it, but there's times that people, they're just so broke, but you have never turned the door away to anybody. You are a heart-giving person. And what I say is, when I see something like that, it's like those that are going through this and they can afford to pay, and they pay, not only are they helping themselves, but they're helping the person that you're helping for nothing. Because obviously you have to keep a roof over your head, turn the lights on. So you have to be rewarded for your service. But people don't know that you help a load of people that are really on the ground.
Yeah, thank you. And, you know, our program, we just, when we started to develop our program and it started working, you know, my team said, oh, we figured it out. You know, we figured it out. And I said, no, part of helping people, this has to be really affordable. Because if it's not affordable, we're only helping a certain amount of people. We got to help millions, man. And one of the barriers to even getting the Band-Aid help is these therapists, psychologists. It takes up a lot of their time and it's expensive. So we were very cost conscious when we did this. First of all, the program is all online and it's all been automated. And all the instructions are all there. Everything you need is all there and it's automated. Since it's automated, we can keep the costs down. It took a lot of work to do that, but we saw we could help more people and keep the costs down by saying you don't need to talk to a person. Also, it's 6 weeks. It's not 6 years. It's 6 weeks because it's so efficient. When it's efficient, less resources, we keep the costs down. But also, when we can't help people because they can't afford it, yeah, I just give them the program. And why? Because we're all here to help. And when you found that out, and I told a friend, he said, that's incredible. And it made me sad. It made me sad because I saw he's right. Like, that's just me. I'm going to help you. That's why I'm here. And it made me sad that caught his attention. So thank you for reminding me. I guess I'm a more caring person than some people, but it makes me sad that that is the case. And yeah, if you're listening to this, well, also, I want to point this out. People say this all the time. They said, is that all you charge for your program? They're like, it's $1 million thing to be free of anxiety and fear for the rest of your life so you can be happier, more confident, do what you love, show up for the people you care about. That's like $1 million thing. And it's no risk, but we keep the cost down so that we can help more people. And as our program got more and more effective, we actually lowered the price because we want to make it more affordable. But to get back to what you're saying, yeah, when people come to us, this happened 3 months ago. A woman came to me, just, oh, it was heartbreaking. Her name was Cheryl. She had gone to, oh my God, it's just, this job, it's very meaningful, but every day I have to really get into the trenches with people in excruciating emotional pain. And that's just part of what I do, is to just be with them and hold their hand and tell them they're loved and try to, you know what it's like? This is really sad. Have you ever seen those videos of abused dogs where they're abused and they try to, like, you know, get them into a shelter and get them healthy again? Have you seen those videos?
Yeah.
I'm not comparing humans to dogs, but my point is, when I talk to people every day, not only do they have the anxiety, but because the experts have so let them down, they've lost hope, they feel trapped, they're miserable, and some of them are just broken, Roy. And I get it, because I was one of those people. Before I started this program, I was one of those people. I started this program because I felt broken and I couldn't get help. They're broken. And they feel so shattered with trust because so many things they've tried have failed. And then it's like those dogs, they try to go pet them, and the dog is like, don't hit me, don't hit me. And I feel the lack of trust in these clients, and I get it. I don't take it personally. I know what they've gone through, so I'm very gentle. And also I let them know, look, one, we're not going to charge you if this doesn't work. We will not cause any harm. You can trust. We're not here to take your money unless we can help you. And that means so much to them because they feel you're not going to take advantage of you. They've been taken advantage of. But also this happened, this woman, and, you know, our program is incredibly affordable, but she didn't have the money, man. Times are tough. She's a single mom, 3 kids, working 3 minimum wage jobs. Didn't have the money. I just said, here, just take it. Just promise me you'll do the steps. Just take it. And I got a message from her on my WhatsApp, and she's just saying, not only I'm smiling again, my anger's down, I quit smoking, but most importantly, my kids have their mom back. And yeah, man, like, we're all here to help. And yeah, so if you're out there listening to this, one, this program is, given what it gets you, which is real freedom, it's a freaking bargain. You can go to the website and see the price. But also, if you can't afford it, if we see that desire that you want to be free of this, we'll make sure that we get you help, because that's, we started the company. And also, if you're listening to this saying, Daniel, this all sounds good, it still sounds too good to be true. Like, how can you be free of this? I've had this my whole life. Go see the testimonials at the homepage. I can sit here and say, we solve anxiety, we have a 90% success rate. Those are just words, man. Go see the people's faces. See the joy, see the hope, see the love that's emanating from them. And trust me, that's not how they were when they came to us. So see the people. They will tell you their stories of where they were and where they are now. And that'll give you hope that maybe you too can be one of our testimonials in the future. Because I know right now what I'm saying seems a little too good to be true. But when you see the faces of these people that are living happier, more fulfilled, more joyful, safe lives, maybe you'll see that this is possible for you too.
Beautiful, beautiful. Listen, Daniel, as always, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I know for those watching on Spotify, BitChute, Rumble, and YouTube, you can see danielpackard.com, but I'll just mention it anyway so that they'll be able to find you. They can book a call with you. You never turn anyone away. You'll talk to them. You go through everything. You'll explain the whole lot to them, so they can find you at danielpackard.com. So thank you very much.
My honor, Roy. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So that's all for the Awakening Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on awakeningpodcast.org. Be sure to share this episode because, you know, a lot of people are suffering from anxiety and this might help them. Until next week, take care.